Hey, it's Friday.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Hey.
Brian, Milam and Dave Baker on a Facebook Live Friday. And boy, a lot going on.
Gee doggies.
I've been side goggling that thing over there, and it's off. We've got the next to last week of the high school basketball season, UK basketball this week. We've had a UK football hire yesterday. It was official 2 days ago, but we got to meet Bush Hamden yesterday, the new offensive coordinator for the football Wildcats. Baseball and softball are getting underway. Softball's already, I think, 6-1, and baseball opens up the campaign today at USC Upstate against Mike McGuire, former Morehead State baseball coach. And so a lot going on.
That's right.
A lot going on.
There is, and it's that time of year, and it's exciting. And people at the high school level, the softball, baseball coaches are having their tryouts.
Yep.
People on the basketball front are getting ready for tournament time. We drew the brackets to start the week off for the boys and girls Sweet 16, so we're ready to go.
I have so much fun doing that, and I know
you do a great job with it.
Well, it's not about that. I mean, I appreciate the kind words, but how much fun. If you remember being in school, at least for me, and I know I came into school much later than you, because when I was in school, if UK or U of L was playing, you had the game on during class, depending on the teacher you had. Now, I also had a very tough French teacher who liked the
easy now, be careful.
No, who liked the dissension of the verb écrire and would not let us watch.
Oh.
But other people would let us watch.
You didn't have to worry about that if all the NCAA,
back then,
NCAA games weren't televised.
But they were.
That's when they were still doing it in syndication.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was in high school, I remember one game in particular, U of L and Arkansas Little Rock. You could walk down the hallway and get the play-by-play coming out of both sides of the hallway because everybody had the game on. And for me at the high school level, the bracket show we did is kind of like that.
Right.
Because as I had mentioned, from E-Town to Lawrence County to Middlesboro, places in between, hey, when's the draw? What's it going to be? What's this? And it's just a big day of excitement because it really does peel off the lid to, okay, the road to Rupp is right in front of us.
And then look what happens when we get to the end of that road.
What happens?
Well, I mean, if you're to speak to your point, if you're like Sacred Heart and Clark County on the girls' side, if they manage to win out their regions and get to Rupp Arena, they will play in the first round.
In the first round, I believe on the second day. So it'll be the primetime game,
6 o'clock game.
GRC and Sacred Heart, if they are to be the recipients of those region titles, and I think they will be. But so much can happen between now and then. And
GRC has not beaten them, correct?
GRC has
in the state tournament.
No, they've lost to them the last 4 times. This last time they lost by 12, but it was tied going into the 4th. They lost to them in the state semifinals a year ago by 4. They lost to them the time before that in the regular season by 1. So they have been the closest consistently to close that gap.
But you got Robbie Graham's digits, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. I think they win and they get back and everything. And if I'm them, I bring out the Clark County stuff. I don't bring out the Win City stuff. I go old school, and I tell them to take a look at this. And
Guy Strong runs out there.
That's exactly right, with the flag. Plant the flag.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome? Leads the charge out of the tunnel. Oh, that'd be so cool. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Let's get with UK football for a second, because that was the big story yesterday. Bush Hamden is the 38-year-old offensive coordinator for the football Wildcats. Comes from Boise State, has SEC experience with Florida and Missouri, also NFL experience with Atlanta Falcons in 2017. And he is one of the up-and-coming coaches. And as he mentioned to us yesterday, he has known of Mark Stoops. They've had a communication going on for the last several years. And I asked him yesterday, when did all of this take place? And he said basically in the middle of last week, Stoops said, hey, here's the deal. And it did not take long for Mr. Hamden to accept, because he's been in Lexington since Monday. So this thing only took about 3 days, 4 days most to take place. And of what you know of him or what you have seen, what do you think? Tall, dark, and likes his coffee.
I mean, I really got to talk.
Well, I mean, I didn't know if you had people in
I haven't gone back and look. You know, he's been in the league twice previously, so he knows what the SEC is all about and everything. As in terms of what he said and everything. Did he say he goes no huddle like 60%
of the time?
And I think that's one of the things we've talked about
that's
before.
To maximize this new NFL play clock or NFL clock. When you get a first down a long time ago, hey, we're going to stop the clock, move the chains, and it does not dictate the length of the game for the fan experience, I think, but it shortens. Hey, you got an extra clock's moving. Let's go. You
don't get as many snaps, which is what they found last year. And so you got to adjust to that. And you know, I don't know. I just wonder what happened with the whole Liam Cohen, Mark Stoops relationship and everything. And one of these days we'll find out. Well,
as Branch Rickey once said, the man who helped integrate baseball, he said, in the course of time, you get everything you want in the course of time.
Yes.
Things change. It just takes time.
Right.
Obviously, people don't want to wait for much. But I was impressed with just what he was saying.
Sure.
He was quick with the answers. Boom, boom. He will stay in the booth because he likes his coffee. And he likes to survey everything.
He said this?
Oh, yeah. Yesterday, he said, I like my coffee black. I like sitting upstairs to observe everything.
So I thought you were saying part of the reason he likes to sit upstairs is so he can enjoy his coffee.
Well, yeah, because he may have 6 or 7 cups of ball game. You never know.
Wow.
I mean, football guys are... They're wired more differently than others.
Ed Orgeron in the Red Bull.
Yeah, go Tiger.
That was one of the greatest pictures when Kiffin bailed and they went to USC. Somebody tweeted out in the early days of Twitter, it was somebody rolling the Red Bull cooler out of the coach's office. I guess it was Eddie's own. Okay, so here's another one, and I told you about this. Now I'm going to show this to you for the first time. There's Caldwell University up in New Jersey. Okay, I don't know much about it other than it's up in New Jersey. But they tweeted yesterday, welcome Coach Louis Matsakis, named Caldwell University Sprint head football coach. Ohio native, tabbed to lead the program after successful stints as an assistant at UK, Kansas, Texas Tech University, and others. I mean, we hadn't heard anything about this.
No. Now, you know what sprint football is, right?
Right. It's like
flag football with helmets and, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's what? It's
up-tempo.
What am I trying to?
It's like arena league football.
What do they do during the summer? What do they call that passing stuff that they do?
This is the passing
Just
league.
Like 7 on 7 or whatever is what it is. And I mean, I hadn't heard anything about this, right? I mean, and he was the guy who was in charge of the kickers. I don't know about the punters. I can't remember whether he had the title as special teams guy.
I mean, it just sounds like a cool.
It sounds like he's going back to Jersey, right? Except he's from Ohio.
Going back to Piscataway, up in that area.
Oh, there you go. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with that now with the Wildcats and who's going to do that.
All right. Speaking of Wildcats, let's get to basketball.
Yes.
Tomorrow, the Cats are on the road.
Yes.
I heard this 4 or 5 months ago, and I thought, there's no way.
What?
Las Vegas had 5 months ago or so had put the over-under on losses for the UK basketball Wildcats at 10.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, well, Shepard and Dillingham and Wagner and this guy, there's no way. And then when they start the season as hot as they did, yes, they lost to Kansas, but then, they open up like 9-1 or 8-1.
Sure.
I thought, there's no way this is going to happen. The SEC is strong, but I don't see, they're at 7. And you think odds are against most teams, they're not going to win a national title, so that would be 8. And there are 7 games in between, not counting the SEC tournament. It is possible the Cats hit that 10, and I thought there's just no way a few months ago. Well, now, as we have seen, the Cats have been very good. They've been outstanding. They have been, what the heck is that? They've been inconsistent. So what do you think happens going on the road to the plains of Auburn, Alabama?
You know, this is a tough one. I've just been looking at some notes. So Auburn has won the last 3 straight at Auburn over Kentucky.
That's right.
And then they came here and they got whacked last year.
Oh, they got bushwhacked.
Right? I mean, but Auburn is the only unbeaten SEC at home with a perfect 13-0 mark.
Bruce Pearl, man.
In 6 SEC games this season, Auburn is led by Jalen Williams, 19 points, 4.3 rebounds. And the Morehead State transfer, Janai Broom, 17 points, 6.5 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks per game.
Or some call him Johnny Broom.
Johnny Broom. I like Johnny Broom.
Not me.
Okay, so Broom had his 9th double-double of the season, 16 points and 11 boards versus Vanderbilt, which is tied for the most in the SEC. He's got 55 career double-doubles, 19 of those coming at Auburn, and the rest coming at Morehead State. I guess it's just that the last 6 games, I think, at home, they're averaging like 22-point winning margin. They have some crazy stats. They here you go. They lead the SEC. Almost 14 turnovers a game. They're also one of the tops in the country. They're 10th nationally and first in the SEC with 18 assists a contest. I mean, those are winning numbers. Now,
winning.
I mean, they have been pretty consistent, but the thing for me is that Kentucky has not. I don't know what to expect down there tomorrow.
No, you don't. And that's the beauty of the sport. But it's not the beauty for the fan base, which
or for Cal.
Especially for Cal, because he has had to rearrange his roster. That happens, okay, whatever. But when you look at this UK basketball team, it is maddening sometimes. It's not the freshman mistakes. That's going to happen. Not worried about that. It's the lapses of consciousness that I watch sometimes. I was texting with a buddy of mine, former highly skilled high school basketball
Formerly
highly skilled, played college ball, hit some massive shots, and he said, "Remember when you were a freshman, Brian? You kind of were blah, blah." I said, "Yeah, but I had a lot of older people around me to make up for that." And I said, "It's not about the mistakes, it's about the lapses of what are you doing?" And there are so many times we have video of Cal, and that's the first thing. Why? What are you doing? And it's just, what?
I think.
I get it when Cal says that. I get it.
From a consistency standpoint, as a coach, as a teammate, I think the main thing you want is to have a pretty good idea of what you're going to get from somebody.
Sure.
And that way you can plan.
Consistency.
That's exactly right. So I think Kentucky gets that from Reed Shepherd.
Yep.
I think they get that from Dillingham. The point
on offense.
The point totals, but I think you know what you're going to get on defense too.
Which is a balancing
act. Yang. I mean, it's the whole reason that Tubby Smith, didn't sign Chris Lofton, right? He thought he would get posted up on defense, but then he goes off for 40 or 50. He's like, okay, let's look at the numbers here. So, you're also, as you said, you also know that Dillingham is going to be a volume shooter. And if he's on, he's on. And if he is, you just ride with it. I think you know what you're going to get from Ugo.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to play hard. When Trey Mitchell's healthy, and did they say anything about this shoulder today?
I haven't heard. I wasn't at the Newser this morning.
Right.
But yeah, that's almost been the injury, unless there has been something that has, and I apologize if it's happened, just kind of went under the rug and I didn't see it. That's been a 72-hour. Oh yeah. What about?
And I mean, we were sitting up in the stands, and when he came off, I mean, he's really holding his shoulder, kind of like one of those deals. But I mean, other than that, you really don't know what you're going to. When Wagner is healthy, he's really good. He's really good. If Edwards could be like he was the other night, really good. And as we get further and further into the season, and this is one thing I'm really going to be watching for tomorrow. As you get up against guys like Williams and Janai Broom, how much of a difference physically and experience-wise on the court is there between those two guys and between Big Z and Aaron Bradshaw? And I mean, it's like a night and day. It's like the men versus boys. Now, that doesn't mean for a game or a half or a period of time they can't lift their, level of play up and overcome that, compete with it. But I think that's the one area where they probably have not gotten, out of all the bigs that were talked about. I think, if you had told people at the beginning of the season that Ugo was going to be the most consistent other than Trey Mitchell, I think people would have chortled
Yeah. Ooh.
Thank you.
Did you clear your throat on that one? There has been almost zero offensive output from the 21 feet of centers outside of 5 feet from the goal. Ugo, he dunks. Bradshaw has had a couple of outside shots, but everybody, and Zvonimir had that hot start with Georgia, but then he hadn't really done much since. And nothing against Vandy. I take out the Vandy game because everybody was on that night because Vandy's just not that good. Excuse me. But there has not been a lot of offensive output from the bigs. And what
that would be an understatement.
And what they get from Ugana, you get dunks, you get putbacks, and that's maybe all you need. Yes, you get defense. With Bradshaw, I don't think from the expectation a lot of people had, I'd say if he was being honest, would say, I've not really achieved what I wanted to this year. Mm-hmm. That is maturity. That's okay. Come back another year. And figure it out. There's no rush. The NBA is still going to be there.
And I'll tell you, Brian, the other thing this team has to do is they have to adjust. And I'm going to.
They adjust if they're told to adjust.
Well, I'm going to not give any names to protect the innocent
or the guilty.
But I was talking to somebody who's associated with another SEC program yesterday, and as they were getting ready to play Kentucky, they noticed how Kentucky was guarding the inbounds underneath the basket.
Or not.
Just be honest. They put in that exact play that team that they scouted ran against Kentucky, and Tennessee scored 3 buckets on it.
Sure.
And they had not used it
ever
up until that point.
I got to shoot the Gonzaga game from up top. Usually we're in that corner.
Yeah, I saw that. I noticed that. I like that.
Well, Mossy was down in the corner. Yeah. I was up top because we had our post-game show to do. It's amazing the vantage point you see.
Opens it up top.
Yeah, and so
Bush Hampton.
Exactly. I like my coffee. And I'm seated up there, and I'm watching and I'm recording, and I can see things develop. Well, I mean, I put ISO cams on Big EK, the big guy for Gonzaga. Didn't have to move because he got the ball. Mark Few told him, your job is to go score now. Because when Bradshaw was here, they did this. When Ugo was in there, they did that. And it was like, come on, fellas, you got to come up with something.
You've got to be consistent in your performance, but you can't be predictable in your execution.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes for the execution, I'm all for it. Also, yesterday, slam the book. The Lexington Legends are back, baby. They're turning back the hands of time.
What's the dude's name?
Who's the dude?
The new mascot?
Mighty Lex.
Mighty Lex, that's what it is.
I like it's a mixture of Mr. Peanut and the Pringles guy. I like it.
Kinda in the same league with Mr. Red.
A little bit, yeah.
And Mr. Met.
A little bit. Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. But this has been. I've never really seen. Is that rain I'm hearing?
I hope not. I've got to get some steps.
Is that rain?
Come on, Beddoes.
It's pouring out there.
Come on.
When
Ben Beddoes show.
When the Legends have in some ways gone down over the last 8-9 years in small ways, and then they kind of really
hurt when they lost their affiliation.
Well, certainly, no question. But then they really bottomed out over the last 3 years, losing the affiliation to the Royals, and but then when you have the genomes come in, and then you got the counterclocks, and it's like, okay, guys, what are we doing?
And I understand innovative marketing and taking a chance and everything.
I understand innovative marketing if you're smart with it, but then there's sometimes it's like, what are you doing, fellas?
Got to read the room. Whatever happened to the customer is always right.
Yeah. The customer is not always right, but if you want their money, by God, they're right. And the stabilizing force in this entire city when it comes to one sport has been Alan Stein. He brought the Legends here. Mm-hmm. He built the Legends. He created all this, as he said to me and many others. This was it wasn't built in 2000. It started in the mid '80s as a pipe dream, as like maybe this brainstorm. And it took 15 years to get it to really where he wanted to. And the Legends were great. Well, now he's back with helping. And I just think it's wonderful that he has been a stabilizing force, and I really believe the Legends are, you've got the look. What is it?
No.
No, go ahead.
It's a great Alan Stein story.
No, go ahead.
We were talking on the air a few weeks ago about when Kentucky and Cincinnati played basketball in 1984.
The Tony Yates game?
The Tony Yates game.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, it was the first game ever syndicated by Jefferson Pilot Sports.
Okay.
Tom Hammond and Larry did the game. And the score was like what?
24-13.
24-13.
Or 24-11.
Something like that,
yeah.
yes. And
the final score.
And so as a syndicated game, so you all understand, there's no network there. You know, syndicators guarantee the station that they'll fill so much time. So the game was over just incredibly early. And so they said, Tom and Larry are just out there talking to fill this time. And all of a sudden, they turn off the arena lights. Then they said that there were some mischievous kids up there in the stands that started throwing change at them. But in any event, I'm telling this story on the air, and Alan Stein texted me.
24-11.
He said that was the same game, and Alan and his partners ran a great place up on Broadway. You were probably still in high school, called 803 South.
Never heard of it.
Oh, my gosh. Like when I was in school in the 80s and everything, that place was hopping. Every Monday night for like Monday Night Football and stuff, quarter beer, quarter hot dogs. And so he said, that's the game where at 803 South we sold drinks for the same price of what Kentucky's opponent was. So we ended up selling 11-cent cocktails all night. How about that?
Here's another. That
story.
Game was played December 20th, 1983. It was the 83-84 season.
11-cent cocktails.
And if memory serves, there was a death threat on Tony Yates, so he didn't show up or something.
Nah, that I don't remember.
Okay, but here is one of the weirdest anomaly statistical lines you will ever see in any sport, certainly from an All-American like Kenny Payne would eventually be. In the game against Cincinnati, where UK won 24-11, Kenny Walker played 24 minutes. 0 field goals made, attempted, 0 free throws made or attempted, no rebounds, no fouls, no assists, no steals, no blocks, no
runs,
turnovers,
no hits, no errors.
Zeros. He is zeros across it's Don Larson's scoreboard, 0 across the board in 24 minutes from a guy like Kenny Walker.
Because all he did was stand there. For those of you that don't know, it was pre-shot clock days. So Cincinnati decided to play 4 corners.
The leading scorers, Bowie and Turpin, with 6 apiece.
Joe B said they'd never play Cincinnati again. Finally, they resumed the series once they built their home court up there at UC.
That's so great.
And then Huggy and Patino got into something. It was actually something that was written by somebody in the Cat's Paws. I can't remember what it was. So they didn't play anymore. But I think it would be. I think it'd be great to do something. Like, coaches are very, they do their stuff, but I think it'd be great to do something to kind of like sort of a Big Four. You could do Cincinnati and Louisville and Xavier and Cincinnati, or you could throw IU in there. But now Kentucky's back playing them again. But I think a doubleheader like that, and you rotate where it is each year. 1 year it's here, 1 year it's up in the Cintas Center, 1 year it's up at UC's place.
There was nothing greater in the regular season as a teenager growing up than the Big Four Classic in the Hoosier Dome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Indiana versus Kentucky, U of L versus Notre Dame. The next year you switch it up.
That's right.
It was
good stuff.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Just crazy. And you had 4 of the preeminent, at least 3 at the time, of the preeminent college programs on the same day. And I wish they could come up with something
pretty
like
good stuff.
that again. We're going to get out of here. The rain is hitting, which could turn into snow, which Ben Beto says will turn into snow at some point. So at least one local high school game in Lexington has been canceled. That was the Bryan Station girls game. And on the far west, the far north, and the far east, not Asian, a lot of games are being canceled because of the weather. It's in Breathitt County, Hazard, the far east of Kentucky. Come on. What? See, he's going to say something after the camera goes off. He'll say, yeah, you will.
No.
But so
travel has always been more of a challenge.
We may have.
And it's better to be safe than sorry at this time of year.
Thank you.
Buckle up, Kentucky.
Stay smart. So there could be some cancellations, so we may or may not have a game time tonight. We will let you know as soon as we know, and that'll do it.
For those of you who are celebrating the Lenten season, let us know where the best fish fries are. I love the Friday fish fries during Lent.
Pass the tartar sauce. We're out of here.
Yes.
For Dave Baker, I'm Brian Milam. We'll see you later.